Hi, welcome back everyone. So this is a video for chapter 4, and in this chapter we are going to go over some concepts related to aggregation at the data level. So what is aggregation? Aggregation is basically combining multiple record and coming up with one value. So that can be just adding up all the salary in the company, or checking out how many records we have in an employee table, or taking out the average of all the salary in a company. So these are some basic aggregation function which exist in the database, and every database or different kind of database, they will be having these functions with different names. So let's look at a few of the functions. There are like so many different kind of aggregation function. I have not listed every function here. This is just the name of those functions which are used most frequently. So let's look at the count function. So count usually it counts the number of rows in a table. The sum function, sum basically sums up the value of the given column in a table. Average, as the name suggests, it takes out the average of all the values. And then minimum returns the minimum value in the given column. Maximum returns maximum value of the given column. Group concat is something when we try to concat the value of the particular column. So for example, if I have 10 record in an employee table, and all the 10 record has 10 different name, and I want to have all the names concatenated by comma separated value, so I'll use this function. Group by function is basically when we try to aggregate different bucket of record depending on one column. So for example, if I just want to find out a number of employee in each department, then the bucket is basically each department. Having is very similar to the where condition, but having clause is only used in the group by context. So let's look at a few SQL examples for each of these functions. So I have already written the SQL script for all these functions so that we don't spend too much time writing the code. The first SQL code, what it does, it gives you the count of all the record in the employee table. Let's run it. So before we run these functions, let's look at the raw data in the employee table. So that way we have the clear picture of what we have in the employee table. So there are 4 record in the employee table. Now let's run each of these functions. So select count gives me like 4 record, right, which is correct. Then this is another way of taking the count of all the record in a table, but developers use it more frequently because it takes less time to count the number of record. Why? Because when we give one is nothing but the first column, so it only takes the count of values in the first column. So this will be also equal to the select count. Let's run it. So this will also give you the same. Now the third query takes the maximum, so it will just give you the maximum salary in the employee table, and we saw there in the table that the maximum salary is 3000. The fourth query, it gives you the minimum salary of the table, which is 1000. And then this query, the average, it gives you the average salary. So it basically takes up all the salary and divide it by the number of record in the table. So there are if we just sum up 1000, 2000, 3000 and 3000 and divide it by 4, it will give you 2500. That's the average salary. Then this is the group concat. So the group concat is the clause used in different database, but in Postgres we use string aggregator. So what it does is like it just concatenate the value from the column using comma in between them. So let's look at the result. So what it did is it took all the name and separated by the comma. You can also separate it by pipe delimiter. So all the four value, they are divided by the pipe delimiter. And then the third and fourth is more on the group by clause. So as I explained earlier, group by is nothing but a way to bucketize your data into different bucket. I'll go with the same example. If a company has 4 department, and then I want to count the number of employee in each of the department, then each department is basically the bucket, and the employee inside each department is the bucket item. So in this query, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find out how many reportee each manager has. So I'm just doing the group by on the manager name, and then I'm counting the number of record related to that manager. So if I run this, this is the result from the group by select query. So what it showing here is Remo has 3 reportee, and then John has 1 reportee. Let's look at the record. That will make the understanding better. So these are the raw record, and if you look at the end, the first record has the manager as John, and rest of the 3 record has managers as Remo. What it means is, like, there are 3 reportee to the Remo, and there is 1 reportee to the John, and that's what we found out using the group by count query. The fourth one is where we are doing the same thing. Pretty much we are dividing the data into different bucket and then taking the count, but there's the additional filter we are applying here. So suppose, like, in the example where a company has 5 department, and each department has some number of employee. So I'm adding an additional filter here. I only want to go through those department which has more than 100 employee. So how I can enforce that condition in the query? I have to use the having clause. So in this query, what I'm doing here is I'm doing the group by on the manager name. I'm trying to find out the number of reportee to each of the manager, but I'm only going to pick those manager who has more than 1 reportee. So if I run this query, it only gives me Remo because Remo has 3 reportee. It did not give me John because John has 1 reportee, which is not greater than 1. So this is the second query. We use where condition or filter criteria to do some additional filtering on individual bucket of the data. So that's it for the 4th chapter. These are very common functions which are used on a day-to-day basis in any data engineering project. Please leave any comment or any feedback if you like the video. We'll meet in the next chapter. Thank you.